Welcome back, deep divers. I know you're all here because you want to get right to the heart of things, and I respect that. We're all about getting those aha moments and understanding multiple perspectives without getting totally bogged down. And today, we're strapping in and parachuting right into the middle of a dangerous game. It's Predators, the 2010 film.
That's right, we're skipping those Alien versus Predator flicks and going straight for the jugular with this one. Predators was meant to be a brutal, direct follow-up to the legendary originals, Predator and Predator 2.
And it doesn't pull any punches. The story throws us right into the action with a group of the most dangerous folks imaginable: mercenaries, soldiers, even a death row inmate. They suddenly find themselves waking up on an alien planet, completely disoriented, but they quickly realize they're not just on someone else's turf, they're the prey. And they're hunters. A whole new breed of predators, even more cunning, even more ruthless.
And that's not even the best part. The twist is that these humans, well, they're predators too. It's like a twisted mirror reflecting back at us. Makes you think, doesn't it?
It definitely does. So we're not just looking at a typical monster movie here. Today, we're going deep into the making of Predators. How did it connect to the original? What choices did they make behind the scenes? And how was the movie actually received? Get ready for some unexpected twists and turns because this is going to be a wild ride.
Let's kick things off with the origins of this wild idea. It's actually a pretty fascinating story.
Okay, hit me with it. Where did Predators even come from?
Well, believe it or not, the seeds were planted way back in 1994. The visionary mind behind this whole thing, Robert Rodriguez, the director of Desperado, that stylish action flick, he actually had a script ready to go and he pitched it to 20th Century Fox.
But what?
But the studio balked at the budget. They thought it was too risky, too ambitious at that time. So the project was shelved.
Wow, 15 years on the back burner. What happened to finally bring this movie to life?
Fast forward to 2009. Fox, after a lot of soul-searching, I guess, decided to finally pull the trigger on a fresh take on Rodriguez's original vision. And guess what? There was a ton of chatter about Rodriguez taking the helm as director.
That would have been pretty amazing.
Yeah, but it wasn't meant to be. In the end, he decided to step back from directing and focus on producing and co-writing.
I'm kind of curious now, who did they end up choosing as the director?
They brought in Nimrod Antal. Rodriguez was a huge fan of his work, especially those intense films, Control and Vacancy. Antal's knack for handling big casts, which you definitely need for a movie like this, probably sealed the deal.
Makes you wonder who else was on their radar, right?
Yeah.
What other directorial styles did they consider?
Oh, the list is insane.
Yeah.
Neil Marshall, the director of The Descent, was in the running. So was M.J. Bassett, known for Solomon Kane. They even talked to Bill Duke, who actually starred in the original Predator. Can you imagine that? Marcus Nispel Peterberg, Darren Lynn Boseman. They really cast a wide net. It's clear they were considering a whole spectrum of approaches to the material.
So, with all this back and forth and such a long wait, how did the budget for Predators compare to the other movies in the franchise?
That might surprise you. It had the same budget as Aliens versus Predator, Requiem. Not exactly a bottomless pit of cash. And they managed to shoot the whole thing in a pretty tight 53 days.
That's efficient filmmaking. Now let's talk about the cast. From what I heard, they made some really unique choices that set this film apart from the typical action movie formula.
You're right on the money.
Yeah.
Nimrod Antal had his sights set on Adrien Brody from the get-go for Royce, the lead role. And this wasn't just a random casting choice. He wanted to move away from that typical image of the Schwarzenegger-style beefcake action hero. You know, those muscle-bound guys who solve everything with brute force.
Yeah, I get you. And Adrien Brody, known for his more dramatic roles, definitely isn't the first guy who pops into your head for a Predator movie. How did people react to that?
People were split down the middle. Some thought it was a brilliant, unexpected move that gave the film a fresh feel. Brody brought a different kind of intensity, a lean and mean energy to the character. Others, they weren't buying it. They felt he just didn't have that classic action hero vibe. Brody really committed, though. He packed on a solid 25 pounds of muscle and deepened his voice to make it sound more badass.
It's fascinating how casting alone can spark so much debate. Who else were they considering for the role of Royce, though?
Let's see. Milo Ventimiglia's name was thrown around. Freddie Rodriguez and Josh Brolin, too. Imagine how different the movie might have felt with any of those guys at the helm. Now let's talk about Alice Braga, who played Isabel, the sniper. She brought a whole other level of intensity, and you won't believe how much she prepared for the role.
Tell me about it.
She didn't just show up on set and wing it. She actually dug deep into sniper manuals, learning the ins and outs of long-range shooting. Not only that, she insisted on carrying a real 14-pound sniper rifle around all the time, just to get a feel for it.
That's dedication.
Right. In the movie, she's part of the Israeli Defense Forces, those elite soldiers. And in a behind-the-scenes interview, Robert Rodriguez actually revealed that she's got a CIA background too, which explains why she seems so comfortable handling weapons and why she seems to have a clue about predators.
That's a cool little detail.
It is. Now, just for fun, they also considered Samantha Mathis and Rocio Banquels for Isabel. Moving on, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Laurence Fishburne's appearance as Noland. It was a short but impactful part, and it definitely got people talking. What did you think about that?
He definitely left a mark, even with limited screen time. It's like he was this enigma, shrouded in mystery. You're just left wanting to know more about him.
You nailed it. Fishburne signed on because he'd worked with Antle on Armored and really liked his directing style. He filmed all his scenes in just 2 days. But in those 2 days, he managed to create this whole backstory for his character, a guy who had survived 10 hunting seasons on that planet. He drops hints about what's really going on and even provides a pretty major plot twist. The reviews were all over the place. Some people loved him. Others were like, what was that about? He just showed up out of nowhere. It's one of those things that really divides the fan base.
It definitely added a layer of intrigue to the film.
Yeah.
Okay, switching gears, what about Danny Trejo's character, Cuchillo? He's a legend in these kinds of movies.
Right. Trejo and Rodriguez are tight. They've worked together on a bunch of projects. He plays this vicious enforcer for a Mexican drug cartel. Some fans felt like he was a bit underutilized, though, which is a shame. The dude just radiates menace.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, what about Topher Grace as Edwin, the doctor? He seemed totally out of his element among this crew of killers.
He stuck out like a sore thumb, didn't he?
Yeah.
There's actually a deleted scene that adds some depth to his character. It suggests he was a surgeon who made a fatal mistake during an operation while he was high on drugs. It almost implies that the predators might be choosing people who are already capable of violence, no matter what their job is. Interesting, right?
That is interesting. It definitely adds a darker dimension to his character, maybe even explains why he's there. I remember the audience reaction to Edwin being super mixed. Some people just found him annoying.
I get it. But now let's talk about Hanzo, the Yakuza assassin played by Luis Ozawa. There's a super cool detail about his fighting style that you might not know.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so Ozawa in real life is a serious martial artist. He's a master of kendo, this really disciplined Japanese sword fighting technique. And he insisted that his character use kendo instead of the more typical kung fu that you see in a lot of action movies. But here's the really cool part. If you look closely, Hanzo's missing 2 fingers on his left hand. In Yakuza culture, that's a traditional punishment, and it would make it almost impossible to wield a sword properly. But he still kicks ass. It's a subtle detail that shows just how skilled he is, and guess what? His name is a shout-out too.
Seriously?
Yeah, Hanzo. It's a reference to the legendary Hattori Hanzo, this famous samurai warrior. And it's also a nod to Shinichi Chiba's character in Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill, Volume 1.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who makes those incredible swords. It's like a little wink to the close friendship between Robert Rodriguez and Tarantino.
I love those kinds of Easter eggs. They add so much depth to a movie.
Right. And get this, Hanzo only speaks in one scene, and he has a total of 3 lines.
Less is more. So what about Oleg Toktarov, the actor who played Nikolai, the Russian Spetsnaz operative?
Man, that guy was hardcore. There's this intense fight scene where he actually slammed his face into a Steadicam, like full on, and started bleeding. And guess what he did?
What?
He insisted on keeping the cameras rolling. He was like, this is perfect, let's go. He even dubbed his own voice for the Russian version of the film. Total commitment. Originally, his character was supposed to have this massive Russian GSHG 7.62 machine gun, but they ended up using an American M134 minigun instead. It was all about what was available at the time.
Makes sense. On to the next badass, Walton Goggins as Stans. He really nailed that creepy death row inmate vibe.
Oh, for sure. Stans was messed up.
Yeah.
A convicted murderer straight out of San Quentin State Prison, you know, the place with the biggest death row population in the U.S. Grim stuff. And his prison jumpsuit. It wasn't just for looks. It was a deliberate choice to make sure everyone knew exactly who and what he was.
Yeah.
And remember, at that time, the governor of California was Arnold Schwarzenegger, the original Predator.
Yeah.
Talk about a creepy coincidence.
It's all connected.
And there's that scene where one of the other characters calls Stans Agent Orange. Chilling, right? A dark callback to the defoliant used in Vietnam. They even filmed a deleted scene where Stans tries to hit on Isabel. Just ew! Hey, guess what?
What?
Stans shares the same name as another character from Alien, another convict, another total psycho.
You gotta wonder if they did that on purpose.
Right. Okay, now, let's not forget Mahershala Ali, he played Mombasa, the commander from Sierra Leone. You remember that scene where he's praying?
Yeah.
He's performing Salat, the Islamic prayer. It was a way to show his Muslim faith, which is something that Ali himself practices in real life. So those little details that make the characters feel more authentic, don't you think?
Totally. And then there's the ninth guy, the poor sap who doesn't even get a chance.
Right. Rocky. He's the guy who falls out of the sky at the beginning, parachute not deployed. Ouch. He's wearing those standard issue pixel gray Army combat uniform fatigues, so it's safe to say he was U.S. Army. It's like the filmmakers were telling us, this is a dangerous place, people. Buckle up. And here's a fun fact. Royce, Isabel, Nikolai, and Noland are the only characters who actually say their names out loud in the movie.
That's a cool little detail. Okay, so they've got this motley crew of killers assembled on an alien planet. Let's talk about how Predators deliberately linked itself to the original 1987 masterpiece.
The filmmakers had one very clear rule. The first Predator was the Holy Grail. Everything else was secondary. They wanted to capture that same gritty feel, that sense of relentless tension.
And they totally went for it with the visual and storytelling callbacks.
Absolutely. For example, those terrifying hunting dogs, the hellhounds.
Yeah.
Remember that creepy skull we see in the Predator's trophy case at the end of Predator 2? Well, that's where they got the idea for the hellhounds. And you can even see some similarities to creatures from the Alien versus Predator video games and even Borderlands.
Wow.
Yeah, they do their homework. And they even brought back the classic Predator design.
I remember that. It was pretty disturbing, though.
Yeah, they didn't just bring it back, they crucified it. There's this scene where you see the original Predator design all strung up on this totem pole like a trophy. It's a chilling reminder that these new Predators, the super Predators, are on a whole other level. They've hunted their own kind. And you can see this crucifixion scene in a motion comic prequel.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Right. The past haunts the present. And that's not all. There are lines in the movie that are straight out of the original, like Royce's final stand. He yells, come on, do it. I'm here. Kill me. Sound familiar?
Very familiar.
It's a direct echo of Dutch's last stand. And they even brought back the med camouflage trick. Royce uses mud to hide himself from the Predators, something he learns from Isabel, who actually learned it from Dutch in the original.
Yeah.
The way the final fight plays out between Royce and the Berserker Predator is also a mirror image of that iconic showdown between Dutch and the Jungle Hunter.
And what about that brutal hand-to-hand combat scene?
You're talking about Hanzo's fight, the one where he faces off against the Falconer Predator with that incredible sword. That was a deliberate homage to Billy's knife fight in the original. They both go out fighting, taking on a Predator one-on-one, even though they know they're probably going to die. And then there's the spine rip.
Oh, God, yeah.
The Berserker Predator rips out Stan's spine, just like the Jungle Hunter did to Billy. Talk about brutal.
Seriously, I'm sensing a pattern here.
It's all about paying tribute to the original while still carving out a new path. And they even used music to tie it all together. Oh, yeah. Remember when we first meet Noland, the survivor? He mentions being air cav, and then he hums Ride of the Valkyries. It's a double whammy of a reference. First, it's a shout-out to Laurence Fishburne's role in Apocalypse Now, which used that same piece of music during a really famous helicopter attack sequence. And second, Nolan claims to have been in the air cavalry himself. It's like layers of movie history. And he even whispers lines from the original Predator, over here, and turn around.
They really snuck those in there.
They did. And even the overall score for Predators, composed by John Debney, was heavily influenced by Alan Silvestri's music from the 1987 film. To top it off, they played Silvestri's original Predator theme during the end credits. And right alongside it, Little Richard's Long Tall Sally, the song those soldiers were jamming to at the beginning of the original Predator.
It's like they took all the best bits and blended them together.
It's a love letter to the original, for sure. And get this, they almost brought back some familiar faces. Why? In the early drafts of the script, they had cameos planned for Dutch, played by Schwarzenegger, and Michael Harrigan, played by Danny Glover. But Schwarzenegger wasn't into it, so they scrapped the idea. They even had an alternate ending with Dutch in it. Can you imagine?
That would have been wild. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and dive into some of the behind-the-scenes production details. I heard they shot a good chunk of the movie in a surprising location.
Yeah, they did. The movie's set in a lush jungle, right? So naturally, they shot most of it in Hawaii, which looks amazing. But get this, about 60% of the filming actually happened in Texas.
Really? Why Texas?
Tax breaks, baby. It's all about the bottom line. And speaking of Texas, they found this incredible spot for that scene where they jump off the cliff into the pool. You know, the one with the big rock overhang. They found it during location scouting and thought it was perfect. But by the time they got back to film, the weather had changed. The water was freezing. And a huge waterfall had started flowing from the rock, making it super hard to record the dialogue because of the noise. Talk about bad timing.
That's filmmaking for you. So, on to the science of predators. Or should I say the science? There are a few details that raise some eyebrows among those who know their stuff.
Right. Like that scene where Edwin, the doctor, identifies a plant as Archifructus leoningensis. Well, that plant went extinct about 125 million years ago back in the Cretaceous period. They actually found its fossils in China, and it's considered one of the first flowering plants. An earlier version of the script had Edwin pointing out this impossible discovery, highlighting the strangeness of their new environment and hinting that they weren't on Earth.
It makes you wonder how it got there.
Right. It's like a little puzzle. And that's not the only clue that this plant's been a predator playground for a long, long time.
What else did they find?
Well, when the group stumbles upon the predator's campsite, if you look really closely, you could spot a Neanderthal skull among the trophies.
No way.
And Neanderthals went extinct about 40,000 years ago. It's like a little timestamp, telling us just how long the predators have been using this place as their personal hunting ground.
So creepy. And speaking of creepy, there's that one scene in Nolan's hideout that caught my eye. The one with the weird lights.
You mean the ones in Nolan's crashed spaceship? Those lights have a story. They're the exact same design as the power indicator lights from the Krell Laboratory in that classic sci-fi movie Forbidden Planet from 1956.
I knew those looked familiar.
Right. It's a little nod to sci-fi history. And those lights are iconic. They've popped up in other movies over the years. Now, speaking of details, let's geek out about the weapons. They put a lot of thought into those.
Oh yeah, those weapons were seriously cool.
Totally. Like Isabel's sniper rifle. It's a Blazer R93, a real high-end model with an Elkin scope. Military snipers love that thing. But fun fact, the Israeli Defense Forces actually switched to a different rifle, the HS Precision HTR, in May 2010, just a month before Predators came out. So Isabel's rifle was technically about to become obsolete.
It's all in the timing.
And Royce's knife, that's a Tops Knives Steel Eagle 107C. You can buy one yourself if you've got the cash. And then there's Nikolai's M134 minigun. That beast is a real thing, but here's the catch.
What's the catch?
It needs a huge external power source to work the way it does in the movie. They kind of fudged the details on that one for dramatic effect. And those crazy explosive shotgun shells that Royce uses.
Oh yeah, those were insane.
Those are real too. They even advertise them for use with shotguns like the one he has. It's all about that boom.
Okay, back to the Predators themselves for a sec. Were the actors who played the Predators as tall as in the previous movies?
That's a good question. The actors in Predators averaged about 6'6.5", which is actually a bit shorter than Kevin Peter Hall and Ian White, the guys who play the Predators in the other movies.
Right.
Those guys were giants, like well over 7 feet tall. So maybe the Predators come in different sizes.
Who knew?
Right. And check out the Falconer Predator. Its biomask looks just like a falcon's head. Probably where they got the name from. And one more little detail. There's a line in the movie that suggests the story takes place before 2010, when the movie came out.
Really?
Yeah, Nikolai mentions fighting in Chechnya, and the Second Chechen War ended in 2009, so it's possible the movie is set before its release date. And let's not forget that amazing sky, all those planets visible, definitely not Earth. Some fans even think they're on the moon of Jupiter. It's open to interpretation, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And one last morbid little tidbit.
Hit me.
The Berserker Predator is the only one who actually takes a trophy during the whole movie. Talk about a low kill count.
It's true. I guess with all the fighting they're doing with each other, they're not as focused on collecting trophies this time. Now, there's this theory going around about the violence in the movie and how it might have slipped past the censors.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Some people think they got away with so much gore because the predator blood is that weird non-red color. Maybe it didn't seem as real. Who knows?
Yeah, I guess it worked. So how was Predators received when it came out? Was it a hit or miss?
It was a bit of a mixed bag. Reviews were all over the place. Some critics loved it. They called it a worthy sequel that honored the spirit of the original Predator. Others, not so much. They thought it was predictable, relied too much on old tropes, and didn't bring enough new ideas to the table.
What about Adrien Brody? I heard his performance was a big talking point.
Yeah, like we said before, his casting was a gamble. Some people really liked his intense, more grounded performance, but others felt he just wasn't believable as an action hero. And Laurence Fishburne's cameo. That was another hot topic. Some people loved it. Others thought it was totally out of left field. It was a real love it or hate it kind of thing.
It definitely added a layer of mystery.
For sure. And some critics pointed out that Predators borrows a few elements from other famous movies.
Oh,
Yeah, they said it had some alien vibes with the whole survival horror thing going on, plus some Rambo energy with all the guerrilla tactics. And then there's the whole hunting humans for sport angle, which is straight out of the Most Dangerous Game. And to top it all off, the whole group of people picked off one by one plot is classic 10 Little Indians. It's a real mashup of genre influences.
I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. And the title itself, Predators. It's not just about those alien hunters, it's about the humans too.
They're all predators in their own way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the filmmakers wanted to make it crystal clear where they stood on the whole Predator franchise. They completely ignored those Alien versus Predator movies. They wanted this to be a pure, direct sequel to the original 2 Predator films.
A continuation of the legacy.
Exactly. So, did they ever talk about making a sequel to Predators?
They did. Robert Rodriguez actually mentioned it right after the movie came out. And eventually they did make another movie, The Predator, in 2018. Shane Black wrote and directed it. But it didn't directly follow the story from Predators. It's like the franchise is becoming this anthology exploring different parts of the Predator world without being strictly connected.
That's a cool approach.
So did Predators make bank?
It did pretty well. They spent $40 million making it, and it ended up grossing over $127 million worldwide. A solid hit for the studio.
Not bad at all. So wrapping things up, what are your key takeaways from our deep dive into Predators? What makes it stand out, for better or worse?
Well, it's clear they really wanted to bring back that classic Predator feeling while also trying new stuff, like those different Predator breeds and the whole hunting humans on an alien planet thing. Casting Adrien Brody was a bold move. Some people loved it, others hated it. It's definitely one of those movies that gets people talking. And they really piled on the nods to the original, from quotes to music to even fight choreography.
Absolutely. So, for all of you deep divers out there, here's something to think about. When it comes to sequels and reboots, especially for these long-running sci-fi action franchises, what really makes them work? Should they stick to the original formula like glue? Or is it better to shake things up, take some risks, and try new things?
It's a tough question.
It is. But that's what makes it fun to talk about, and that's what we're all about here, exploring different angles, getting those brain juices flowing.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Keep those minds curious, folks, and we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.